Hey guys, welcome to Lingua Marina. Today we're gonna talk about it's a psychological topic when you forget words. Happens to me all the time. I'm talking to a person and the worst thing, I kind of had this word in my head just right now, but now when I'm talking about this, I forgot this word. Like, it happens to me all the time and I can totally understand you. It happens a lot at any level of English. And today we're gonna talk about ways that you can navigate through this situation, and hopefully you will remember some of the methods and tips that I will give you and that you would use them later when you're talking to native speakers or just when you're speaking English and you forget a word. So first of all, a really basic tip, super basic. Try and say this word in your language. Maybe if you're from Finland, maybe that will be a little tricky because I know Finnish language is one of those weirdest languages when even computer doesn't sound like computer, because if I say computer, this is a Russian word, people in America would understand what I mean. Like, you can try and make it sound more American, computer, and people would understand. Because there are so many words these days that are very, very similar across many languages. So whenever you forget something, like if you really want to say a word, because there are other ways you can navigate through the situation, but if you really want to say a word, try and say it in your own language. Maybe something comes out of this. If not, no problem. I see people do it all the time here. So I have a gardener who's from Mexico and he's English. I would say he's pre-intermediate. And sometimes he just forgets words. He would just say something in Spanish and I was like, oh, okay, because I learned Italian. They're kind of similar languages and that helps a lot for us to communicate with each other. The second tip, just ask a person who you're talking to remind you what's that word. And Americans use it all the time. Oh, what was that word? Oh yeah, like, what do you call it? Sorry. Oh yeah, that one. So Americans use these phrases all the time. So just write them down, and whenever you forget a word, just ask a person who you're talking to. The next tip is to remember the stats that I'm just about to give you. So there was this guy, a scientist, Dr. Mehrabian, and he analyzed the speech and he concluded that 7% of what we understand is verbal, just 7%. 38% is vocal, like your intonations, and 55% is visual. That means that you just need to use your visual signs. The problem with phone calls here is that you can't do that. Or if you're on Zoom, then you can. But this is why a lot of people struggle with making phone calls in English. But if you're talking to a real person, if you're on Zoom doing a video call, then use your hands, use your acting capabilities to show what you mean. Like, if you're struggling to say a dog, you can say woof woof, you can say meow meow, whatever. Something I forgot a couple of days ago, I forgot the word blow kisses. Like, when you do this is called blow kisses, and my daughter loves to do that. And I wanted to ask her to do blow kisses, but I forgot how to say it. And I just said, do this. I wouldn't recommend this method during the exam, but something you can totally use in normal life. The next tip is actually to stop and paraphrase the whole thing. Because again, I know where it is coming from. Sometimes you either had this word on the tip of your tongue and it just evaporated when you started saying a phrase. It is probably a complicated, super advanced word. It happens to me all the time again. And the way to deal with it is to just stop a phrase and say it in a completely different way. Because you are probably translating in your head from your own language to English, and then you forget the word and then you're stuck. The best thing to do there is to go back to the beginning of the phrase and to say it in different words. And again, I'm not relating to words that you can forget, like object words, cat, dog, blow kisses. You can't really paraphrase something in order to remember that word, but something that brings more complexity to your speech, like evaporated, like the word that I used. Maybe go back to the beginning of the sentence and don't say the word just evaporated from my mouth. Say, I forgot this word. Like, use easier words. This helps me a lot. Again, this is like, we're discussing different methods. This one is really advanced. Like, when you just want to sound too advanced, when you want to sound like a native speaker, but you realize you're not yet there in terms of your vocabulary, it's okay to go back, to stop, paraphrase, and sound like an intermediate person. But at least the other person would understand you, and there is nothing bad in sounding like an intermediate person. The next step is to just try and come up with words yourself. Like some words in English, they're just a mix of different words, like water, fall. Obviously, right? This example with blowing kisses, like you're blowing kisses. That is obvious as well. So if you just forget a word, try to make it up. Try to take it from French or Italian, because 30% of English vocabulary was adopted from French. So you can actually use that language as well. If you know French, by the way, try to use French words. And of course, there are other tips that are super useful. Learning synonyms, but this is not something you would do in a situation where you forgot a word, but something you can remember now and do something later on when you're studying English. Remember synonyms. Learn words and synonyms. Intelligent, smart, clever, witty, etc. Like, learn them in batches. This way, when you forget one of the words, you remember the synonyms. Another tip: use the dictionary that explains the word in English. Because again, when you forget a word, at least you can explain it in English because you've read the explanation. You have something there in your mind. We're not using 100% of our brain capacity. When we read something, it's somewhere there in our minds, and we've all watched the movies where people like are able to memorize everything. It's just our brain is capable of a lot of things, and don't underestimate the power of using such a dictionary and reading the explanation of the word in English, because later on something will click and you would remember that explanation. Thank you guys so much for watching this video up to the very end. As always, if you enjoy the way I teach, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to download my workbook, the link will be down below, and I will see you very soon in my next videos. Bye bye.